talk to you about what your rights are when you come into contact with the police. And we think that there are a couple of main things to keep in mind. First, from a legal standpoint, don't incriminate yourself. And equally important, from a logistical standpoint also, don't get hurt, don't get killed. So we'll talk about both of those things, starting with not incriminating yourself. That is a really important thing to keep in mind, and it's a huge right that you have also. It's constitutional, both federal and state. You never have to incriminate yourself. Basically what that means is if the police, think that you broke the law, you don't have to say anything about it. And we think that normally you should not. And something to keep in mind is that's not going to come back to bite you later. In other words, if you don't say anything and your case goes to court, that can't come in against you at court. For example, if the case goes to trial, the prosecutor can't comment on the fact that you didn't talk to the police. So the fact that you were silent doesn't come in against you, and you never have to explain why you didn't talk to the police either. When the judge is deciding a minor case or a major case being decided by the jury, they can't use the fact that you didn't say anything against you. They're instructed when they're deciding the case not to sit there and think, well, let's see, he didn't say anything. Maybe he's hiding something. Maybe he's guilty. They can't do that. A lot of times people just call this your rights, your right to remain silent, your Miranda rights. It's all the same thing. And maybe you've heard this, yourself or on TV or whatever. When someone's being arrested, the police say something like this: you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you in a court of law, etc. Well, obviously, if someone's being read their rights, they're being put on notice. But sometimes people aren't read their rights. Doesn't matter. Whether they read your rights or not, you always have that right to remain silent. And we think you really should exercise that right and not say anything. We talk about how it can't come back to hurt you if the case goes to court, but there's some other things to keep in mind too. Except for in major cases, in most cases, police don't record when they talk to you. They normally don't tape record most of their conversations with you. What they do instead is sometimes take notes or sometimes go from memory. Later, when they're done, they go back and write a report. It could be as many as 8 hours later. So sometimes it's just that their memory isn't that good, but other times they're slanting it on purpose their way and summarizing it, sometimes slanting it quite a bit, leaving out things that are really important to you and so forth. So you can have your chance to explain your point of view if you want to, but one reason to not do it at the front is because normally it's not tape recorded and the police officer could summarize it in a way that's slanted very far against you. They could even get something wrong. Also, you should probably talk to a lawyer to know whether it's a good idea to say what you wanted to say, because sometimes people don't realize things. A lot of people think that if you didn't know it was illegal, then you're excused, that it's okay and it's not a crime. That's not true. Not knowing that something is against the law is not a defense. So make sure you know whether what you did was legal or illegal before you talk. Also, some people are a little bit confused about where the line is. An example we see a lot is like marijuana. Sometimes the marijuana belongs to one person and they don't have a purse or a backpack, so they ask their friend, could you hold this for me? And the friend says, sure, and then gets caught and searched. And people sometimes think, well, I didn't own it. I wasn't going to use it. I was just holding it for my friend. And so they'll tell the police that, but unfortunately that is against the law as well. Another thing that a lot of people are unaware of is that the police can lie to you to an enormous extent to try to get you to tell them things. In other words, they can lie to you about what proof they have against you. They can tell you they have fingerprints, they have witnesses that implicated you, that what happened was caught on tape, all kinds of things like that, even if that's not true. So it's important to wait, talk to a lawyer first, and find out what evidence, if any, they really have before you decide what you want to say, if anything. Another thing that police sometimes do is they'll say, we won't take you to jail if you'll just talk to us. Well, whether you talk to them or not is not going to be the turning point in that kind of decision. So if they make you a promise like that, they didn't have grounds to take you to jail anyway. Another thing police sometimes say is, well, you should talk to us because it's going to be better. And a lot of people think that means better for me, better for my case. Not necessarily. It may be just better for the police, make it faster for them to solve their case. Another one that bothers me a lot is that police often say to people, if you talk to us, then we won't press charges. Well, technically that's true because police officers never press charges. Neither do victims. Only prosecuting attorneys can press charges. That's a lawyer function that happens on paper in court. So very, very tricky. Yeah, police officers, victims can't press charges. Only prosecuting lawyers can. Where this right really gets a little scary for a lot of people, I think, is if you're taken to the police station. Even if you're taken to the police station, you still have the right to not talk to them, and we still think you shouldn't. For someone 18 or older, you have the right to make a phone call. You could get the ball rolling there to get a lawyer. People under 18, the people in the lockup place will make a phone call for them, contact their parents, and they'll have a lawyer within 24 hours, whether their parents can afford it or not.
What may help you is to know where police are coming from. They have two main goals. One is to solve the crime, the other is community and personal safety. So obviously for the first one, to solve the crime, normally the easiest way to get that solved is to get a confession from someone, and that's what Suzanne went over. The other one is personal safety and community safety, and that's why when they stop people, they pat them down as they claim it's personal safety to make sure you don't have a weapon. The police don't have the right to walk up to any individual on the street and just pat them down. They only have a right to pat you down if you're suspected of some sort of criminal activity. And then they can only pat down the outside of your clothing. They can't reach into your pockets. They can't go into your shoes. However, if they say to you, do you mind taking off your shoes? And you say no. Or do you mind if I reach in your pocket? And you say no. You've given them permission. And they do sometimes try and intimidate you and make it sound like, hey, either give me permission or I'm going to do it anyways. Normally, if they're going to do it anyways, they're not going to ask for your permission. If they think they have probable cause to already reach into your pockets and to check your shoes or something else, they're not going to ask you for permission. And you have the absolute constitutional right to tell them, no, you can't reach into my pocket. Now, if they're doing the outside pat of your clothing to make sure you don't have any weapons and they come across some object that feels like it could be a weapon, then they do have the right to reach into your pocket, your sock, whatever, to make sure it isn't a weapon for their own personal safety. That's how some types of contraband get found. Metal pipes, things like that. That's when those get found, is they said, oh, I felt this really hard object in the pocket. Thought it could be some sort of small weapon, small knife, something used to hurt me, puncture me, so that's why I reached in and I found out it was a marijuana pipe or something else. If they feel something soft in your pocket, they don't have a right to reach in there. Doesn't stop them from asking you, what is that? And some people don't answer, and some people say, that's my bag of marijuana. You have your right to remain silent at that point. You don't have to tell them what's in your pocket. Say, nothing, just my item.
If you refuse, can they hold you till they get a warrant to search your pocket, or how does that work?
No, because there still isn't. They have to get a warrant. They have to have probable cause that they suspect you of some crime. And just feeling something kind of squishy in your pocket isn't going to be enough for them to get a warrant from a judge that, yeah, you have marijuana in your pocket. Because the only thing they're going to be able to put down is, I felt something. Never saw it, never smelled it. Nobody told me he had it. Just felt something that I kind of want to search. So they're not allowed to do that. Police officers' main goal at the end of the night is to go home. So if you keep that in mind, you'll understand why some may be a little edgy. Any sort of movement you may make that they assume is quick, they may hold against you. When you come in contact with a police officer, first, they don't have a right just to stop you for any reason. If you want to continue on your way, if they stop you and there's no reason to stop you, tell them, I'm sorry, officer, I'm busy, and you can keep going. If he has probable cause, he'll tell you you have to stay. And at that point, it actually invokes the Miranda warning, so that works well for you, because